I don't think anyone talks about how exhausting it is to fall in love in 2026. Not the butterflies part, not the good stuff, I mean the other part, the part where you're lying in bed at 11 p.m., phone face up on the pillow, watching the screen go dark every time it doesn't light up with their name. That part, because somewhere along the way, we stopped falling in love with people. We started falling in love with the anxiety of waiting for them. And I want to talk about that today because I think it's affecting more of us than we're willing to admit. Let me start somewhere familiar. You meet someone, it goes well, you feel something, that warm, quiet thing that happens in your chest when someone laughs and you think, oh, I want to be around that laugh more. So you text them, and then you wait. And here's where it gets interesting. Because the waiting is not just waiting anymore. The waiting has become a whole emotional experience. You open your phone, you close your phone, you open Instagram just to see if they posted a story. They did 3 minutes ago. So they have their phone. So they saw your message. So why haven't they replied? And now you're not just waiting, you're analyzing, you're constructing a timeline, you're running a whole emotional investigation in your head based on nothing but a story of them at a coffee shop. That's not love, that's surveillance. But the scary part is that it feels like love, it feels like caring, it feels like being invested. And that's where we've gotten confused. We started confusing anxiety with connection. We started confusing obsession with death. And we started confusing someone's silence with a message about our worth. Let's talk about the response time game, because I think this is one of the most quietly toxic things we do to each other right now, and nobody calls it what it is. You get a message from someone you like, your heart does the thing. You want to reply immediately because you genuinely want to talk to them. But then a voice in your head says, wait, if you reply too fast, you look desperate. You look like you have nothing going on. You look like you've been waiting, even if you have been waiting. So you put the phone down. You wait 20 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour. Not because you're busy, not because you need to think about what to say, but because you're managing the perception of how much you care. You are performing casualness. And the person on the other side? They might be doing the exact same thing. Two people who actually want to talk to each other, both sitting in separate rooms, watching the clock, timing their responses like it's some kind of emotional chess game, and nobody wins that game. But everyone plays it. I find that so sad, honestly. Because underneath all of that strategy, there's usually a person who just wants to feel like the other person is happy to hear from them. That's it. That's all it is. Just that small human thing. But we've built this whole architecture of rules around it. Reply too fast and you're needy. Reply too slow and you're cold. Say too much and you're intense. Say too little and you're distant. We've made it nearly impossible to just be honest about wanting someone. And then there's ghosting. I want to sit with this for a moment because I don't think we've fully processed what ghosting actually does to a person. Not the walking away part. People have always walked away. Relationships have always ended. That's not new. What's new is the silence. The specific kind of silence that comes after someone has been present and then simply stops being present. No explanation, no ending, just a conversation that tapers into nothing, like a song that just cuts out before the last note. And you're left holding the phone, rereading old messages, trying to find the moment where it shifted. Was it something you said? Was it something you didn't say? Was it the message on Thursday that maybe came across wrong? Was it something they saw on your profile? You become a detective of your own relationship, searching for the crime you committed that you don't even know you committed. And the worst part is, there is no answer coming. That's the nature of ghosting. The question just stays open forever, like a wound that nobody closes. I think about what that does to someone's ability to trust, because when someone disappears without a word, you don't just lose them, you lose a little bit of your own instincts. You start to question your read on things. You thought it was going well, apparently it wasn't, so now what? How do you trust your own feelings next time? How do you let yourself get excited about someone when the last time you did they were just there and then one day they weren't and you never found out why? That's a specific kind of hurt that takes a while to name. And I don't think ghosting happens because people are heartless. Most of the time, I think it happens because we've created a culture where it's easier to disappear than to say something uncomfortable, where ending things feels heavier than just fading, where we've normalized temporary connections so much that actually explaining yourself feels like more than was ever agreed to. We made it so easy to connect that we forgot to make any rules about how to leave, and now we're all just leaving without saying goodbye. Let me talk about something else, the love that expires. There's this thing that happens in online relationships, and I don't think we have a name for it yet, where the connection feels real in the beginning, and then slowly, quietly, it just stops being tended to, not because something happened, not because anyone fell out of love, exactly, but because attention moved somewhere else, because the algorithm served up something new, because the dopamine of the beginning wore off and nobody did the work to build something underneath it. And so it expires, like something left in the fridge that nobody finished. I think a lot of people are walking around with a kind of grief they don't fully understand because it doesn't look like a breakup. There was no fight, there was no conversation. There was just a before, when things felt warm and present, and an after, where they don't, and nobody marked the transition. That's a real loss, even if the world doesn't have paperwork for it. We are living in a moment where connection has never been more available and closeness has never felt more fragile. You can talk to someone every day for 2 months and still not know if you're in something. You can share voice notes and midnight thoughts and playlists and still feel like you're holding the whole thing alone. Because we stopped naming things. We stopped saying, I like you and I want to keep seeing you, and this matters to me. We started keeping everything vague and flexible and low pressure because we're all so afraid of being the one who cared more. And in trying to protect ourselves from rejection, we've made it impossible to actually receive anything real. I want to be honest about something. I think a lot of us don't actually have a problem with love. I think we have a problem with vulnerability. And social media has given us about 100 different ways to be near someone without ever being truly open to them. You can like their photos, you can watch their stories, you can text them at 1 a.m. and call it nothing. You can orbit someone for months without ever saying what you actually mean, and it feels like connection. It mimics connection, but it's not. It's connection with all the risk removed. And love without risk isn't love, it's just observation. Real love, the kind that actually stays, requires saying things out loud that feel terrifying to say. I missed you. I'm scared of losing you. I don't want this to be casual. I want to know you better than your Instagram shows me. Those sentences feel enormous right now. In a world where everyone is performing coolness and availability and whatever the opposite of need is, saying, I want you specifically, I'm not playing games, I just want to be close to you, that takes a kind of courage we've stopped practicing. And I think we're all a little out of shape. So here's what I want to leave you with. If there is someone you have been waiting on, someone whose name you check for before you even open your eyes fully in the morning, someone you've been performing casualness around when the truth is you are anything but casual about them, maybe this is your reminder that you are allowed to be real. You are allowed to reply when you want to reply. You are allowed to say that conversation made you happy. You are allowed to ask where things are going. You are allowed to need clarity. You are allowed to say this matters to me without it being a problem, and if someone can't handle you being honest about what you feel, then they were never going to give you what you actually need anyway. You don't need someone who keeps you guessing. You need someone who lets you rest. The right kind of love doesn't make you analyze every message at midnight. It doesn't make you perform disinterest when you're full of it. It doesn't disappear without a word and leave you searching old conversations for a reason. The right kind of love just feels like being seen, quietly, steadily, without all the noise. And you deserve that. Even if right now it feels very far away, even if right now the phone is still dark on the pillow, you still deserve that.